Better or worse? Hello, Huggies. Mr. Mizzy's tired of that one. Cool. So, hope y'all are doing well. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going with this until you guys tell me what to do differently. So that's good. Couple of interesting things, I guess you could say. I posted on Classroom the AP review link that College Board provided. And they're going over a lot of stuff related to services and settlements, with the idea being that they're going to loop in the major skills that will be tested on the AP exam. The skills are the skills that we have been doing all year. That's going to be looking at things at different scales of analysis. Scale of analysis being what happens if we look at what's happening within a city versus what's happening within the country versus a continent. A great example, since we are living the most human geography right now, is what's going on with COVID-19 in the States. So if we're looking at it at a national level, it's a national crisis because we now have more COVID-19 patients than anywhere else in the world. So on a global scale of analysis, we are at the worst right now for COVID-19. Nationally, in terms of how the president is responding to it and how the country's doing, the entire country isn't suffering the same way. And that's when you need to look at a different scale of analysis. And that way you could look at it in terms of coasts, or you could look at it in terms of individual states. So as far as individual states go, the state of New York is okay. The city of New York is in the middle of an apocalypse. So the worst place that's happening is at the city level, within the state, within a country, within the globe. So different scales. Think of how you kind of zoom in and out, if you will. So anyway, that's the type of skill that we look at. That's the type of different skills that they'll be reviewing. When we're talking about agriculture, that's definitely something that we see at different scales of analysis. So we can look at it within a region. What types of agriculture do we practice? Then you can go country, then again, kind of continent and global level. So for these different types of agriculture that you've been looking at, you've looked at what's in developing countries now and what's in, getting a good view here. Developed countries and developing countries. So the big ones to know in developing countries are, hopefully you're getting it, shift in cultivation, that's the big one, and wet rice intensive subsistence farming. Okay, so wet rice intensive subsistence farming, say that 5 times fast, and shift in cultivation, AKA slash and burn, right? And then fishing, please no fishing, just no fish. Cool. And then for agribusiness or making money off of farming, the most important one that we want to know about is mixed crop and livestock farming. Okay, so mixed crop and livestock farming, and that's between pages 328 and 329 of your book. Okay, so mixed crop, and please ask questions if you have any questions anywhere. So mixed crop and livestock farming is what we practice regionally here. So like I said, if you are driving around Illinois, when you see all of those cornfields, no one is eating that corn. Okay, that corn is going for the cows to fatten those guys up. Delicious, delicious cows. Yes, sorry. But this is where we kind of move from learning about commercial agriculture to living commercial agriculture. And this is what I'm going to be talking about next, which is von Thunen's model of agricultural land use. This little bad guy up here. And I will post a reading that is all about my boy von Thunen's model. And I love this. You can see it's hard for me, Brenda. I don't know where to look. Do with my hands. Cool. So von Thunen's model gonna take some notes, so if you got your paper. Von Thunen. Excellent. So the thing with von Thunen that you want to think about is that people in large cities need food. The only way you're going to get a lot of people in one big city area is if they have easy access to food and this whole commercial agriculture economy. You don't have a giant city in the United States with a cornfield in the middle of it. Okay, so if you go to New York City, if you go to Chicago, Los Angeles, there's no agriculture happening in the city, right? It kind of makes sense. So what's in the middle of the city? The market, okay? If you can think about this little piggy thing, that'll go well. So you have the market at the center, also known as our central business district. Okay, so if you want to live in the center here, in the central business district, it's expensive. Think about how expensive it is to live in downtown Chicago. Okay, it's going to be extremely, extremely costly. Rent prices, like we talked about with the bid rent curve, is going to be the most expensive downtown. So you don't have, you can't have space for farming here because people want to live here and you just can't afford the land. Okay, so market is at the center. Now, how far do you want to go for your food and how far will you go? Next ring. This is going to be our fruits and vegetables, AKA market gardening. Think about it. If you want to go to a farmer's market, you don't have to go that far away from the city, but you need to get out of the city a little bit. Or people that have farmers markets, they're not driving like hundreds of miles necessarily to get to downtown if they're doing something kind of like how they do outside of the Dirksen downtown. They're not going that far. Why? Because watermelons are big. Like fruits and vegetables are very large and they're difficult to transport. The only way you can transport them is on a truck. So if you think about how else could you transfer it? Mm-hmm. Walking? No, we're not doing that. So market gardening is going to go next. Then from there, we're thinking, what's the next thing that we might see? Well, immediately you might be thinking about, what about those cornfields? And I'm really getting to those cornfields. Too soon. What about dairy? That business goes bad, as my husband keeps telling me, because I keep eating rotten cheese. It's not that bad, baby. Don't worry. It's making faces right now. I love you and rotten dairy. So dairy has to be nearby. Why? Because milk goes bad. Okay, and the other thing you want to think about is in order to get this stuff here, it costs money to transport that business. Now, just to fill up a gas tank costs, for my little Prius, it costs about $25. So that's pretty good, right? But to fill up an enormous gas guzzling car, that's going to get more into like $100. Now imagine how much it's going to cost for a big old truck, okay? So we're going to need to be far enough away so we have space for all of those cows. But it can't be too far because then it's going to, one, go bad because it needs to be refrigerated. And the second thing is it's going to cost way too much money. So if you want to think about how we're going to make this work, we need to get far enough away from the city so we have space for the cows and so that we have space for all of the farms for them to do it, but it can't be too far because otherwise all the goods you're making will go bad. Okay? Then once you're done with that, now we want to think about how we are going to feed those cows. Now we're getting into our cornfields. So this is where we're going to get into our mixed crop and livestock. Now we're gonna have our big old field. Sometimes people call this grain farming too. Okay, and that's the other ring that we'll get there. Okay, outside of that ring, now we go into ranching. Ranching is where you're just gonna have space for cows to graze. So the process of raising cows, if you were just like, but I thought you were growing all of that corn to feed the cows, why do cows need to ranch? It's a step-by-step process. It's gonna get it there, and there's different types of ways that we're gonna go about it, is the short story. My 18-year-old baby cousin, she is going to be a future farmer. She's in Future Agriculture Workers of America. She could probably answer some of this if anyone's interested. She's graduating high school this year. How do you like that? You guys will too soon. All right. Hopefully not doing all e-learning, because I need a comment or something from people. Tell me what you'd like. All right, great. So this is how we're going to go. We need to think about how much space do we need. So what's the required space? What's the distance from the market? And how are we going to transport everything? Okay. And again, like I said, this is going at, hey, Alana, miss you. So this is going for different scales too. So how much space are you going to have? Distance, and then transportation. Think of the different ways that we can transport things. We can do it by car. We can do it by train. Plane, not so much. Okay, plane's going to have to be for different types of maybe like dry goods or something. Hey, Mike, do you guys fly anything in for Bell? No? Is it boats? Yeah. So Mr. Mizzy, aka Mike, who maybe he'll show Buddy again. You're going to show Buddy? Yeah, why are you mouthing things like they don't know I'm talking to you? You're so weird. Anyway. So he works for Bell Brands. That's where they make Baby Bell and Boursin, all that cheese that they brought in for Wine and Cheese Day. That's his company. That a lot of that cheese is made in France. So it's fancy. But with that, they don't fly it in. That's going to be on a boat, okay? Just because traveling expenses for a plane are way too high. You also need to think about the weight. I think that the weight is an even bigger logistical concern than that. So how are we transporting things? Mainly car, train, or boat. We can't really fly it in. Okay, so then there, how much space do you need for market gardening? That can be close to the city because you don't need a backyard, maybe some tomatoes or some green beans or something like that. If you grow fruits and vegetables in the backyard, you don't need as much space. Okay, so how much space do you need? How perishable is it? And how much is it going to cost you to get to that market? Okay, this can go at, so if we're looking at this locally, we are in the best spot in the US to really see how this all works. Because Chicago, a little bit outside of the city, you're going to see a lot of signs for like farmers markets or like different like berry fields. Okay, so that's how you know you're in market gardening. Okay, then when you get up a little bit into Wisconsin, then you're going to start seeing all that stuff for all that cheese. So cheese, dairy, delicious dairy and cheese, all that in Wisconsin. One good thing about Wisconsin. Then you keep going out on that, going west. You go on your road trip, you're out of the market garden, you're past all those cornfields in Iowa, then you are in ranching country. Okay, so you are ranching, you are in Montana, you're thinking about how you want to be outside more. It seems fantastic. And then by the time you hit the coast, a little bit after you hit the lumber regions, once you hit the coast, California is funny because that's also going to be a market garden area. So look at a map and just think about it as best you can with, using your common sense. So you know that you get fruits and vegetables from California. If you're at the store, you can see something like California grapes. Great example. Grape example? No, okay. So you could think about California, like California grapes, and then you could think about maybe those advertisements you see about how cows are so much happier in California. They're not growing those grapes in the same place, but it's the same idea of how you're moving out. Okay, the middle of the country is still always going to be about the same, kind of that ranching and grain farming. So just try to, again, trying to remember different college mascots is always helpful too. So that's why if you get into areas, if you want to know what ring you're in, of von Thunen's model in the United States, think about what the college mascot is. So that's helpful. For example, I think it's helpful. So for example, you could think about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So you know which ring of von Thunen's model you're going to be in there. So you're in the mixed crop and livestock, okay, or grain farming. If you're looking at Oklahoma or Texas, a lot of their mascots are going to be related to ranching. So that's where you get like the Longhorn for the University of Texas. So that's how you know which ring that guy's going to be in. You get things like gators and oranges and all that stuff when you're in Florida. Different idea there. Think about schools you want to go to. NYU, I don't know if it's got a mascot, but I know its colors are violet and white. So that's the market. Anyway. Cool. So this is von Thunen's model. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to look at a picture of von Thunen here, of von Thunen's model. You want to look at a picture of a type of farming, and you're going to want to say, just by looking at it, about how far from the market is it going to be. Okay, so if you look at this, about how far from the market would this guy be? Right. Now, if you get a picture like this, that's a trap. Okay, von Thunen only applies to commercial agriculture. Okay, this is subsistence farming. Okay, subsistence farming is not part of the model for von Thunen. Okay, so subsistence farming, it makes sense again for thinking it's in developing countries. They're not close to major world markets. Okay, so these types of agriculture, they're not going to be near a major city. Okay, and von Thunen's model isn't going to apply. Von Thunen's model is just applying to commercial agriculture. That's it. Okay, so just commercial agriculture. So if you see anything with slash and burn and it says, where is this in relationship to von Thunen's model, that's a trap. Don't go for it. If you make these circles, just always think von Thunen and the circles, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a reading that goes over all of this. All it is saying what's in each circle. Always think the center is the market. So when you do this little piggy went to market is always the first one. That is your big toe. That's the big guy. Your eye's always going for it. Okay, then it doesn't work as well from the rest of them. Actually, it kind of does if you want to go for the roast beef. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef. This little piggy had none. No, this little piggy went, wee. You're so not fun. Sorry, I'm looking at Mr. Mizzy. I really wish that I could. This is just not fun lecturing. If you guys do the AP classroom, it's a lecture format. The lecture format, it's great. You know, if you're watching it, you know, it can be great. If you find yourself drifting out, you can always pause it. So that's good. it's interesting that they're doing it using the content from Unit 6, since that's not going to be on the exam, so it's not as helpful. But it's an available resource. So there's that. I will post a reading about von Thunen's model. I'll post a PowerPoint that I made that covers von Thunen's model. So you can have both of those resources to look over. And if you could, kind of over the weekend, if you need something to do, familiarize yourself as much as you can with von Thunen's model, so that way we can do some FRQ practice next week. So any feedback I get from anyone about a time that would be better for you, or what types of resources I could post, or what I could do in terms of e-learning, just anything really. I'm open for suggestions, it's really more than suggestions. It's really guidance, because this is brand new for everybody, and yeah, it's a beast. But you guys, are you thinking that, like, I was about to say, I feel like I'm getting a little weird in the head, but I don't think this is that different from the way I usually act. So, no, that you responded to. Oh, okay. Lord. Okay. So there we go. So von Thunen, you'll get a reading for. You'll get a PowerPoint about it. I'm just going to keep adding videos to the playlist on this page that I think are helpful in terms of explaining different things for agriculture. So that way, if you're bored or just want to watch some YouTube videos and that kind of relate to school, then that's available for you. Yeah. That'll be good. Again, really stinks because there's so many cool activities we could be doing together in class that involve agriculture. So I'm sad that we can't do that. But if you want to make your own agriculture extravaganza while you're at home, then my #1 rec is you keep track of how much food you're eating that has corn or corn byproduct in it. Because my guess is you are made of corn. So think about how much of what you're eating is either made of corn or corn byproducts. Spoiler alert, if you eat meat, they feed them corn. So that all counts. So if you're like, I'm a vegetarian, I'm all good, then if you eat processed foods, you're probably eating corn. And then, so make that a fun game. Keep track of how much corn or corn byproduct you eat. I think that's a fun game. The other thing that you could do is play a fun game about how much food do you eat that has GMOs in it. And then think about, do you care? Okay, so GMOs is what we're going to get into next, but I think those two are both pretty fun. So yes, von Thunen stuff will be posted. Awesome. All about thinking about that little piggy and how far away are we from the market, because gas is expensive, y'all. Even with this global crisis, people are like, oh, gas prices are so cheap, because they're saying it's like $2.80. That still is a lot of money just to get around. I'm just telling you, that's a lot of money. And refrigeration is expensive. So, yes. Mike, how confusing do you think all of that sounded?
I get it.
You get it? He doesn't get it. But yes, anyway, other than that, reach out to me, please, anyway. Oh, wait. I'll email people about this, but I'm going to put this out there. If you go to the College Board website, when they're talking about the AP exam and they say it's units 1 through 5, that does not correlate directly to the chapters in our book. Okay, so units 1 through 5 in our book are going to be chapters 1 through 9. Okay, chapters 1 through 9. We did 1 through 7 together. So it's really just 8 and 9 right now. Right. So for food and agriculture, I'm doing that one first. Just because I thought that like at home maybe you could have fun with, again, looking at corn. I don't know. We're doing food and agriculture first, and then we'll do political geography. Hopefully we'll be back in school with time to go over all of this stuff. There's just no guarantees on it. So any work you do at home during this quarantine, oh, butter is extra credit. Butter, butter, butter. Oh, look at butter. Look at butter. Butter. Oh, I love you, butter. I think he's still sleeping. He's breathing awfully heavy. Butter. All right, anyway. So 1 through 9, we're doing food and agriculture. It's nice and straightforward. Political geography is nice and straightforward too. So yeah, that's that. I appreciate all of you very much. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're, if anything, if you're not reading human geo stuff, I hope that you're just watching stuff and making the connections to human geography. The news is a depressing place to go, but really everything is human geography. So games of fit. It's a oh my god, I know, buddy. He's such a little fatty. I love him so much, but he's getting so much exercise with this. He still has a big old belly though. All right. I don't know if it's bad that this isn't me weird or what. I should do something about this though. Problems. All right, cool. So I hope y'all are doing well. For the 20th time, I'm sorry I get so repetitive. Please just reach out to me if you have any questions or if there's anything at all I can do. Doesn't have to be, I mean, I don't know, like I said, if it's about another subject, that's fine. But I just want to be available in any way that I can because I care about all of you and I hope you're staying strong. And it's a very scary time right now, and it's okay to be scared if you are. Yeah, it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to completely zone out and not do anything either. If you just need to kind of get through this, whatever you need to do. But yeah, other than that, have a great day. I'll be back on Monday. I think we can honor weekends, right? Yeah. Have a great day. Bye.